Welcome back, Patriots, to another episode of the Bald Brad Show. It is officially Wednesday, August 2nd, folks. August 7th. Whoa, I said 2nd. Joe Biden is still, by far, not even close, the worst president in American history. And folks, it's not going to get any better. We're coming out of the gates with somebody already joining the Bald Brad Army. We haven't even been in here longer than 5 seconds, and Jason's joining us over at YouTube. Thank you so much, Jason. You're always supporting the show. You're always leaving the comments. Greatly appreciated, sir. We got a lot of people over at Rumble. We got a lot of people over on YouTube, folks. Couldn't be more excited to jump into the news with you today. What we're going to be discussing is, of course, the White House press briefing. How could we not let that one slip by us? Because, it was bad. But who is Tim Walz? Nobody's really ever heard of this guy. The last time we did hear about this guy, Black Lives Matter was running roughshod over this guy's city and state. So we're going to dive into a little bit of what his policies are and who this individual is. And what you're going to see is the Democrat Party, honestly, is unrecognizable. They've gone so far left that if you were to listen to RFK or hell, one of his family members back in the day, like JFK, or if you were to listen to like Bill Clinton, their speeches, and I will go as far to say this, if you went up to Barack Obama's campaign speeches, you wouldn't even recognize the Democrats of today like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz compared to even back then. They've gone so far left. Everything's really kind of shifted. That's why when you listen to Kennedy, when you listen to like Bill Clinton, they almost sound Republican. So we're going to jump into a lot of stuff. Why don't I also share a story with you yesterday that I had? So I was having a conversation with a buddy, and I made the joke going, I'm going to the grocery store with my wife a little bit later, super excited to pay that extra 30%. It was just, I literally laughed. It was just a joke. And he goes, well, things weren't that great under Trump. And I said, what? That was my reaction. And I said, what are you talking about? I go, you're not voting for Trump? And he goes, I don't like the things he says. And I was like, all right. I go, well, can you give me some examples of what he says that you don't like so I can get an idea of why you would vote for, say, Kamala over Donald Trump? Because he must have said some really egregious stuff to go out of your way to vote for Kamala Harris. Mind you, this is a good friend. I'm not like hounding him. I'm just trying to get into his head a little bit of like, what's your thinking and reasoning behind this situation here? This is not a small little thing. You're about to screw me and my family over because now I'm having to pay 30% plus on everything else because you wanted to go vote for Kamala Harris. So I'm about to be fucked myself. And he goes, oh, well, you do your podcast. Like, you know the things he says. And I go, honestly, I'm not trying to troll you. I'm not joking. I really don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I'm not saying Trump hasn't said stupid things, but I need you to identify the things that are stupid so that I can understand your logic and reasoning. And he had trouble thinking of a single thing, which is typical of what kind of Democrats and liberals do. And so I said, hey, I go, well, dude, don't you think it's kind of weird? And I paused and I said, look, I'm not trying to beat you up, man. I go, I'm just trying to understand what your thinking is. Don't you think it's a little bit odd and weird that you can't even come up with a single thing this guy said, but you're so hardcore concrete in voting for somebody else and not Donald Trump, and you're going to vote for somebody else over Donald Trump just because of things that he says rather than does? Don't you think that's a little bit weird? Mind you, you can have these conversations, right, with your friends and family, things like that usually, without it getting like hysterical. And he goes, well, the prisoner swap. And I said, what about the prisoner swap? He goes, well, he didn't, he said that the deal shouldn't have been made and that he could have got it. He would have rather have it done when he was in office. And I go, first of all, I don't know what you're talking about because he was just on a podcast that I listened to yesterday for like 4 hours talking that he's glad that the deal happened. And I prefaced, I said, he wasn't glad that the deal happened in the way that it did. And that's why he utilized the words complex, because it is a complex deal. And I go, by the way, do you know what we got out of the deal? And he just went silent. I go, look, man, I cover politics. I'm not saying I know everything. I don't even know what we got out of the deal. Nobody does. I go, it was a multi-country deal. We could have got totally screwed. Germany could have got totally screwed. We don't know. I go, by the way, your guy that you want to vote for, or we're going to vote for, Joe Biden, was giving them like $1 billion per hostage, like $9 billion per like 6 hostages or something. And I said, look, man, I go, you're saying you don't like Trump for the things that he says. I go, but Kamala Harris is allowing terrorists to come across the border. Your grocery prices are up. You're complaining that grocery prices are up. So all the things we talk about here on the show, it is quite interesting that it does happen in my personal life too, because I live in the state of California. So most of the people that I interact with and run into are Democrat side that are now going to vote for Kamala Harris. So it's a remarkable thing that what I share here on the what I shared here in the podcast and on the show, when I went to the store, I also shared with my wife, and that it has also happened to me in my real life that I share with all of you. So I thought I would share that story with you. Pretty crazy, man. Pretty crazy that a good buddy is gonna vote for Kamala, even though I can list like 1,000 things that's going south. As you can see, I haven't had my full cup of coffee yet. Matter of fact, when I started the show, that was my first sip. I'm not woken up yet. It's early. Normally, I get a cup of coffee in before we kick off the show. But anyways, enough of story time. Let's jump right into the news today. A few updates on prior stories. So we have Comer is going to probe into whether Kamala Harris did anything to address the border crisis. Now, I'm not sure what he plans to get out of this, because we know that she didn't really just do anything. But the GOP-led House is embarking on an investigation into Vice President Kamala Harris's role in the Biden administration's struggle to get a grip on the border crisis. Yet James Comer here announced the probe on Tuesday in a letter to address the U.S. Customs and Border Protection senior official performing the duties of the Commissioner Troy Miller, requesting documents and a communications between CBP and the executive office of the vice president. I think the reason why he's also doing this is to try to shed light and bring more information out in the public of what exactly she did and didn't do in terms of the border. The reason why this is slightly important, and probably why he's doing it, is because the media's not covering it. The media is not saying that she did a terrible job anymore. Do you notice that? Like, everything's really just gone all positive for the Democrat Party all of a sudden. Before, it was just all bad, right? Oh, look at the border, immigration numbers are up. Oh, the economy. You know, they're all wish-washy, just like the Democrat Party, in terms of what they're going to cover and what they're not going to cover. What's going on, Mizzy? I see you guys in the chat. I see Jeremy. I see Krager. I see you guys. And so he probably needs to do this, because since the media's not covering it, we need to get the information out to people, which they're still probably going to suppress it anyways. So President Joe Biden asked Harris with leading efforts to deal with Mexico. Remember, she's not the border czar, folks. She's not in control of leading Mexico, but yet that's what she was tasked with by the President of the United States. But the media are going to lie to all of you. So at the time, Harris said the government must address the root causes that caused people to make the trek. Harris faced criticism, particularly from Republicans, in the years since, as problems with migration have only persisted. It's unclear what actions, if any, Vice President Harris has taken to fix the border. I mean, well, same with Joe Biden, right? But don't worry, he put in executive orders. He did something. As to really what, being specific, well, remember, Karine Jean-Pierre doesn't get into specifics, you guys. She only gives us these broad terms, because the more times you can keep things broad, then technically you're never going to be found in a lie, because as broad as it is, you can always point towards that very broad thing, and thus you are not lying. So we don't get anything from this administration, but don't worry, you guys. People are going to still go out and vote for Joey and Harris and whoever the hell else is going to be on the ticket. The reason why I vote for Joey, I think Joey's still going to be on a couple tickets, because he can't be taken off. He's already registered over in that state. So I wanted to bring you that in terms of what Comer's doing. We also have huge news in terms of Elon Musk and our platform, Rumble, which we love here. So we did cover this twice, but we have an update here, and this has to do with Elon Musk joining the Crusades, baby. Tirebox, thank you so much for the $5 over at Rumble. The man joined over at YouTube for the Patriots, the membership, and now he's over at Rumble contributing $5. Thank you so much, sir. Keeping the lights on. True Patriot, Jason. I appreciate it, man. Look at that. His name's not even Tarbox, and I know his name's Jason. Don't know the man in real life, but know the man is a patriot in the chat. So social media companies, X and Rumble, have now joined forces and are suing Advertising Trade Group and its members on Tuesday, alleging that the coalition engaged in anti-competitive activity to facilitate boycotts and force tech platforms to censor content. Now, we covered this specifically with Ben Shapiro in going up against Congress, talking about GARM, who allegedly forced its members a roster that includes most major ad buyers to enforce safety standards, you know, because words hurt, you guys. that require not running alongside ads alongside misinformation. Now, what's that misinformation? It's any information that the Democrat Party and progressive left don't like. That's literally all it is. It's nothing more. It's nothing less. They'll also sometimes call it disinformation when they're not aware that the information that I'm giving or some other outlets giving correct. So just because we're Republicans and they're not aware and they're not up on anything in terms of stories, news, politics, it's just deemed misinformation, disinformation because they're batshit crazy and don't have a clue. The alliance facilitated a boycott of X, which we recalled, and then we also mentioned that when we talked about Google yesterday, but when we also talked about this whole story. Elon Musk's acquisition of the company, a boycott which X lawsuit claims was made possible by collusion. And so I think a lot of money is going to be thrown at this. They're going to be able to get probably a lot more lawyers, and it's going to be bad for GARM, but it's also going to be bad for a lot of those companies. Now, if you recall, the Rumble suit filed by the same lawyers in the same court as the X lawsuit named the World Federation of Advertisers as well as advertising mega firm WPP and the subsidiary GM. So I think a lot of stuff's going to come about of this, not just with that, but also with the monopoly claim that was also labeled on Google yesterday, where Google has about almost 90% of the market share of all search engines or all searches. So I don't know if that's going to be broken up. I don't know how that's going to be distributed. I don't know how that's going to work. But I mean, a lot of stuff comes out. And the nice thing about these lawsuits, folks, is you have a thing called discovery. So you can discover more information while you're doing this in terms of, well, are they shadow banning people? Are they utilizing maybe YouTube to stop advertising from going to, say, conservatives or Republicans? Because I get flagged in almost every video. We don't get a lot of advertising from any of our videos. If you guys want a perspective of how much we make like on a podcast, I've never revealed this. It's probably like sometimes it's 60 cents for like a show right now, like this show right now that we do for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half together. The revenue we get from ads is only like 60 cents, maybe $6. That's on a freaking glorious day. So it isn't like you're breaking the bank doing this, right? So maybe you're thinking like, holy crap, Brad, like what? But it's not, remember, it's not always about the money. It's about hanging out with the Patriots. That's what I always say, baby. Woo! So a little bit of update there for Elon Musk with y'all. And again, couldn't be more than happy to see y'all in the chat. I see Byron. And by Byron, I mean Brian. I see you, Brian. I see you, Snarf. Good to see you, folks. Sam, Kara, good to see you. I love the badges, too. The badges look sick. In other news, we got JD Vance ripping into Walz, the VP pick, and we called it yesterday. Now, with this is going to kind of lead us into who exactly Walz is, because most people have never really heard of this guy before. And it's not like JD Vance here just destroys Walz and Kamala Harris' selection. He kind of destroys the reporter that was even asking it. So here's this clip of JD Vance doing the Lord's work, man.
Philadelphia to highlight the Americans who have suffered under Kamala Harris's policies, especially Kamala Harris's border policies. To remind you, she, on day one, suspended deportations, proposed mass amnesty for millions of illegal aliens. She stopped construction of the border wall, and she stopped the Remain in Mexico policy that had kept a lot of Americans safe. Now, today we're going to talk to a lot of Americans who have suffered and had children and loved ones who have died because of these border policies. It has led to record fentanyl overdoses in our country. It's led to a lot of migrant crime from people who shouldn't even be here. And it's, of course, driven up the price of housing for a lot of Americans who shouldn't have to compete with 20 million illegal aliens for scarce homes. Obviously, the big news of the day is that Tim Walz has been nominated as the VP, or is now the presumptive nominee, I should say, for Kamala Harris. My view on it is it just highlights how radical Kamala Harris is. This is a person who listened to the Hamas wing.
That's a key phrase there, how radical Kamala Harris is. There's a reason why she picked this guy, folks. There's a reason why the Democrats are getting behind this guy and going crazy over him. The Democrats have gone so far left. It is an unrecognizable party. I don't even know why they're calling themselves Democrats anymore. And maybe that's why they're slowly making the shift by saying Democrat socialist or a socialist Democrat. They're calling themselves Democratic Socialists. Folks, that is just a socialist. Just because you put a word in front of it doesn't really change it too much.
Of her own party and selecting a nominee. This is a guy who's proposed shipping more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to make the American people more reliant on garbage energy instead of good American energy, and has proposed defunding the police just as Kamala Harris does. I think it's interesting, actually. They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive.
Oh my gosh, he's on fire. Oh, it's great.
For what it says about Kamala Harris, that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies. I'll take a couple questions, then we're going to hit the road and go to this press conference. Yeah.
Would show that it's anti-Semitism. The reason why you believe Kamala Harris didn't choose Josh Shapiro to still with that?
Well, it's not what I believe. It's what the Democratic leadership has said. Many people said repeatedly that the reason Kamala Harris was going away from the Josh Shapiro selection is because they were worried about anti-Semitism. They were worried about certain voters. They were worried about some of the leaders and the grassroots activists in their party wouldn't take a Jewish nominee. I think it's despicable. I think it's disgusting. But that is right out of the words of many members of the Democratic leadership. And so now we have Tim Walz. But again, most importantly, we have Kamala Harris. Her policies have been a disaster, and they will remain so if the American people give her promotion.
Senator,
Yeah.
have you or Governor Walz reached out to one another? I know when you were just
Yeah.
you're going to be, you guys have reached out. You could,
I actually, on the way to the flight in Cincinnati, I guess in northern Kentucky, I actually called Tim Walz. I left a voicemail. I didn't get him, but I just said, look, congratulations. Look forward to a robust conversation and enjoy the ride. And maybe he'll call me back. Maybe he won't. Yeah.
Senator, excuse me.
Yeah.
The governor and Vice President Harris are expected to take a battleground state tour in the next couple of days.
Sure.
Former President Trump won't be making a public campaign appearance until Friday in Montana. Is that a missed opportunity?
No, look, I think I'm making a number of public appearances over the next few days just to drive home the fact that Kamala Harris's policy have been such a failure for normal Americans. I know the president's very busy over the next few days. One of the things you've got to do is, of course, get out there and speak to people and speak to reporters. A final thing that you have to do, of course, is raise the resources, and I know the president's very busy doing exactly that. So he and I are taking a divide and conquer strategy to this campaign. Sometimes we obviously do events together, but I think we're going to use the fact that we have two people who can both get out there and prosecute a message. We're going to hit the road, but I want to make just one final observation. I know most of you. I like all of you as people, or at least I like the ones of you that I know. I think that you guys have got to do a better job at actually forcing Kamala Harris to answer questions. This is a person.
Yes, thank you, JD. What is it 17? I think it's 17 days now. She's gone without an interview. Yo, I was kind of being a little bit facetious, like joking a little bit about her going up till the DNC convention, not doing like a single interview with hardball questions like you're seeing here or whatever. It might happen. It actually might happen.
Who's been the presumptive Democrat nominee for 16 days. She hasn't taken a single real question from a reporter.
Yeah.
The American people deserve to get to know the people who want to lead them. And I think it's shameful for Kamala Harris, but increasingly for the media, that she's taking a basement strategy of running from reporters instead of getting in front of them, answering tough questions about her record, and letting the American people know who she is. President Trump and I take hostile questions. We take non-hostile questions. We get out there and talk to people because we respect the American people enough to want to persuade them and not to try to run from them. So I think you guys got to do a better job. That's my humble opinion.
You know, you would think, and he was nice about it, right? But you would think this, you're a reporter, you're trying to do your job. I'm sure you have people like bosses, supervisors climbing down your neck to get a story out, get some questions in. Like, Trump and JD are doing them a service in terms of making their job a little bit easier, of giving them that kind of time. Where on Kamala Harris's side, you would think like, well, you're not even willing to give me the time of day. Why would I treat you with respect? Why would I go out of my way and bend over backwards for you when you're not even willing to take my questions, let us climb on to the plane and answer questions there or wherever? Like you, right? I mean, a natural human being would think those types of things of, why am I going to bend over backwards for you if you're not willing to bend over backwards for me and take care of me? But it's weird because the reporters are always sitting there just eating the gunk between Democrats' toes all the times as if they're peasants. And these Democrats are kings and queens. I don't understand reporters, and some of them watch the show, you guys. Believe it or not, as small as we are, some of them at least check it out every now and then. Why are you guys so nice to them? Honest to God, I don't get it. They're a-holes to you guys. They don't answer your questions, and when they do, they lie straight to your face and they're disrespectful to you. So unless I'm missing something, let me know behind closed door channels, because I honest to God, I don't get it. And I like the reporters. Again, like JD said, they're nice people. They got families and everything. They are nice. But I really struggle to understand it. So who is Tim Walz? Who is it that has led to Kamala Harris to pick as the vice president nominee for the Democrat Party? Well, folks, there's a reason why we put in the title, Democrats have gone so far left, the party's unrecognizable. Well, you're seeing with Kamala Harris, the most radical person in all of the Senate. That speaks volumes. That means she is a further left than a socialist. What is that? That is a communist. And why do we say that? Because of her own words. Now, she didn't go, I'm a full-fledged commie. No, but she said in kind of a roundabout way, in terms of her ideology, that is a communist ideology. It basically comes from the Marxist kind of handbook, which we covered here, about the whole idea that there needs to be an equality of outcome. Well, to get an equality of outcome has to be through force. There's no other way of really doing it. We have social studies, or at least at least psychological, well, not just psychological, but societal studies on this, in terms of if you don't apply force to people and you let them kind of just choose what they want to do, you're going to have disparities in that ultimate outcome that's produced from that freedom and liberty of doing said thing that you want to do. Whereas once you get into the use of force, then you're going to have equality of outcome, but that outcome is going to come at the cost and expense of some other group. She doesn't get that, though. Well, Marxists never got that, and that's why Marxism and socialism sucks. So check this out. We got a lot of stories on this guy, and we got a lot of video clips. So buckle up, folks, because the show really starts now. Tim Walz may have the manner of a kindly Midwestern dad, but when it comes to protecting the country's children, not so much. From transgender medical interventions, Walz is not interested. In fact, he's the opposite, folks. If you love your children getting castrated and also indoctrinated in trans woke ideology, this is the man for you then. Vice President Kamala Harris tapped the Minnesota governor as a running mate yesterday, and Walz signed a cluster of legislation just last year in April that established Minnesota as a haven for children who want puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or transgender surgeries. Isn't that just fun? Look at this picture. Isn't that just fun, guys? Oh, boy. Ooh. Little weird. I'll be honest, a little weird. Minnesota parents have socially transitioned their 6-year-old son and are convinced he is a girl. They celebrate the governor's signing of an executive order protecting the ability to abuse their child. Dude, that's insane. Folks, these are people. There was Josh Shapiro, and we'll get to the clip in a little bit, that talks about basically children should have the freedom to choose what books they want to read. They don't have enough freedom. Right. Yes, children do not have enough freedom, and they shouldn't, because their brains aren't developed. There's a lot of wonky things that children say and do. Have you ever been around a child? You don't let children drive. You don't let them do a lot of things. You don't let them have a lot of freedom because they're not capable of understanding the decisions they're making now and the consequences and all the variables that unravel for those consequences of said action. That's why the parents are in the room. But when you're with the Democrat Party, there are no parents. There's only psychos that want to sit there and lop your child's genitals off, giving them freaking puberty blockers and hormone enhancers. Look, if you want to do that stuff, like if you think you're a girl when actuality you're a biological male, like maybe there's some individuals on our screen that are like that, do it at 18. Look, if you're an adult and you want to lop your pee-pee off and your boobies, look, your life. I am not for it. I wish you would get some help. I don't think it's great, right? Everything works. It would be like you having fully functional arms and chopping your arms off because you think your arms are icky or whatever. Look, I think you should seek help. I'm not making fun of you. I think it's a serious thing, which is why I'm covering it here on the show. If you want to do it at 18, it's your life. But I don't think we should be doing that to children, and Tim Walz wants to. The Democrat Party wants to. And this is not any news to us here. I mean, there was PR, like White House pamphlets, like full PR. You know how they have like the White House thing, it's all blue, and they have the wording on it, and it's sent out from the White House. Yeah, no, White House is behind this. We've covered this years ago. We haven't talked too much about the trans movement and puberty blockers. We've kind of gone away from that because there's just been so much information on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But we worked big on it in the past. If you want to check out our video catalog, You can do a search engine on that. We got tons of videos. I mean, we were doing it so much, like I said, we were like 5 seconds on Project Veritas when we were highlighting all that stuff. So not only, oh, we're not done yet. Not only is this guy for transitioning your kids, giving them puberty blockers, you know, indoctrinating them probably in the education system like we've seen in New Jersey and other states where they're teaching your kid how to use butt plugs at 2nd grade, how to use how to masturbate through cartoons at a 3rd grade level in New Jersey, which we've covered here, or go into these clubs that are not registered on campuses that are transitioning your kid when you have an adult in there doing drag in front of your child without your knowledge. All this stuff, that is not a joke. I am not playing that up. I'm not exaggerating it. That's all stuff we've covered in the past, which is majority of what I say here in the show, if you haven't figured it out by now. A lot of it's not really my opinion. It's just, these are what the psycho said like 2 years ago. Tim Walz also created a DEI council. Shocker. You think maybe they'll give Karine Jean-Pierre a job again? You think she'll just roll over like Joe Biden's economist advisor did the other day when he resigned when the markets were crashing? And now he's with Kamala Harris? So this guy said that America was systemically racist. I mean, I'm not surprised anymore. This guy could probably say the most outlandish shit I've ever heard in my life, and I'd be like, yeah, no, makes sense what he says because he's a psycho. So Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, he's a psycho, by the way. If you think that cutting off children's genitals, okay, doing anything weird to children, if you think that's okay, you're a psycho in my mind. Really, I do believe that. If you are stunting the growth of children and their enhancements, which could lead to boys not being able to reproduce later on because you sat there giving puberty blockers and hormone enhancers, like you're giving them estrogen when you should be having them testosterone, or you're suppressing certain levels. Yeah, that kid's messed up for life. It's there's a guy on I don't know if he's on YouTube. Billboard Chris does a phenomenal job. James Klug works with him quite a bit doing street interviews. Highly recommend you check him out. He has a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom on that stuff, and it's sad to see. But if you're doing that to people, you're a psycho. I'm not saying you can't have an awakening, okay, and go, oh, I used to be for transgenderism. I used to be for this, and I woke up to it. I get that. Some people have a, coming to Christ moment, and then they realize their life has changed and transformed. I get that aspect. Look, I had that aspect too, folks. I used to be pro-choice. I used to think chopping up babies was okay. I came from that psychopath world. Okay, I get it. Now, I was always Republican. It's just I was pro-choice. Now, again, in my terms, I was a psychopath. Chopping up babies ain't a great idea. I know I'm going off a little bit of a rant here, but I got to explain why I'm calling somebody a psychopath. I just don't throw words at people and not have a backup to express why I'm calling them that. So he pushed far left diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda on his state as one of his very first actions in office. I mean, he created a council that basically said America is a systemically racist country and pushed for anti-racist practices as a solution to whiteness. I was at Trader Joe's yesterday shopping. Remember I told you I was going to the grocery store? And I'm in California, and I don't know if Trader Joe's has gone woke or left or what, but there were some oddballs in there. There were some weird guys and gals in there, to the point where, like I'm always checking my six. That's something Neil says here. Oh, we always got each other's six. We always got each other's back here. Us Patriots in the chat. I see all of you. I see Gesser. Is it Gesser, Gieser? Aloya? I don't know. I can't read. But anyways, I was there. And I always make sure if I'm at a restaurant, I try to make sure I could see everybody, kind of like what cops and military guys do, even though I was never a cop or a military man or service member. And I like to watch my surroundings. You never know if somebody's going to go psycho on you, right? Pull a gun or whatever. And so she noticed I was watching somebody. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, well, there's a shady guy over there with glasses, a backpack, and all that stuff on. But we get to the counter, and there's this tall black guy, and I could be reading too far into this, that's scanning our products, right? If you've ever been to Trader Joe's, they could bag it for you, but I was bagging my own stuff. And I had to reach across to where the scanner is, across the table, to grab my stuff. Now, a little weird, but I told her when I was walking out, I go, look, I'm a white guy. My wife's not white, by the way. We're an interracial couple. And I go, I wouldn't put it past an individual to not be polite and push the product towards me so I could bag my own stuff. He just left it there and just walked away from the counter. So whiteness, you guys, if you're white, you're bad. Clearly, you're just racist. And that's like Robin DiAngelo type stuff. That's Abraham X. Kennedy type stuff. That's 1619 Project stuff. That stuff we talked about in our book here, Trojan Horse. If you're white, you are inherently racist, just to let you know, according to Democrats. What I mean by that, I mean, in a literal sense, if you are white, according to the Democrat Party and how far left they've gone now, again, Democrats have gone so far left, they're not recognizable. You are a racist, and there is no getting out of it. If you acknowledge that you're racist for some odd reason, which I don't think anybody in here is, I know I'm not, you're still racist according to their mind. You have an unconscious bias is what it's called. You're just not conscious of your racism, even though you're still, I know, it doesn't make sense. Shortly after assuming office again, he signed this into law, basically, executive order, I guess law, air quotes. Disparities in Minnesota, including those based on race, geography, and economic status, keep our entire state from reaching its full potential. This is good. Walz said at the time, he said the council would establish goals and work collaboratively to address diversity, inclusion, and equity in a state governing government practices, including recruit. Holy shit. Oh, guys, again, I don't read these. Hand to God, I don't read these. I just see the titles. What this guy just said, it's a quote, is absolutely illegal. Hiring practices, including recruiting, this is all based on race, by the way, retaining and promoting state employees, government contracting, and civic engagement. This right here, recruiting. When you see recruiting labeled under the form and umbrella of DEI, that's hiring based on the race, to meet quotas, to have diversity. That's racist. And it's illegal. And it's wrong. And Democrat Party used to not be for that very much. Now they're full for it. So that's the thing. Look at this. What does this one say? The U.S. economy was built on the exploitation and occupational segregation of people of color and American Indian people. Well, I mean, this first part was because of the Democrat Party. So if you have a problem with it, why would you join the party that basically exacerbated the problem and still is metaphorically? Like, can we see the hypocrisy in that's the outlandish in all this? Folks, he's complaining, and rightfully so, about the segregation of people of color. The Democrats are doing that now on college campuses with dorms and graduations and workplaces. Not to mention, that's kind of the outcome you get with DEI, right? Can't make this shit up. That was a good article. It's been a while. I'm holding it together because it's morning, but it's been a while. Oh, we're not done yet with Walz. So what do we got so far? America's racist. It's systemically racist. It's not fixable. And if it is fixable, they're going to do DEI hires. He wants to trans your kids. Well, I got a list of like 100 things. I'm not kidding. Oh, well, we'll get there. I got a full list for y'all. He wants to trans your kids. He wants to give them puberty blockers. He wants to indoctrinate them in the classroom. He wants to allow drags to roam free so your kid can be indoctrinated through that and see some weird stuff. He wants to do it in the form of the media as well. He wants to give them hormone enhancers and puberty blockers. So that's where we're at now. And like I said, I got a full list in text that I'll show you in a little bit. Oh, what do we got? Brad, what possibly could we get to next? How could it possibly get any worse? Well, folks, get ready, because this is quite frankly what the next few years could look like if they get elected in office. But before we jump into our next story, folks, we got to support Rumble. Rumble's been taking care of us here. We love Rumble. They got an absolutely great apparel. If you haven't checked it out, we've plugged it before. Rumble's exclusive apparel has finally freaking arrived, and it's mint. It's good. The apparel is now offering, Rumble apparel rather, is now offering 20% off all purchases, folks. They're hooking us up here at the Rumble store with discount code DROP20. I clearly have not enough coffee yet. Holy lordy. If you want to support the brand that is fighting free speech, folks, literally fighting free speech right now. They're suing Google. The people that are not pro free speech that are screwing over our channel, they're actually backing it up and fighting for our First Amendment right. This is the best way you can do it, by going and buying their merch. They have tees, sweaters, hats, just as we do, plus much more. Go to rumble.store and make sure you enter DROP20, all caps, no spaces, DROP20 as the promo code to get 20% off your entire order. At least you're going to be sporting a brand that's for free speech, and everybody knows what Rumble is. So when you're walking around, people are like, where'd you get that shirt? Where'd you get that hat? So they're taking care of us over here. Let's take care of them as well. So Walz here has also shifted blame to city leaders for abject failure in response to 2020 Minneapolis riots. Isn't that something we said yesterday? Didn't we say when this guy in real time live was put forth as the vice president nominee to Kamala Harris that, dude, didn't you let your cities burn down? And I even questioned, I was like, wasn't it Minneapolis, Minnesota that this all took place in? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In the spring of 2020, after people had taken to the streets in Minneapolis, Tim Walz, the governor, admitted that there was an abject failure in the response to the rioters who burned businesses and police precinct. You know, something that they always leave out, no matter who the reporter is. And I'm not hounding Daily Wire here. They do a phenomenal job, and we use a lot of their articles. Black Lives Matter and Antifa went and burned down businesses, all because of like George Floyd and police brutality and how black people are oppressed according to the Democrat Party, which is odd because the Democrat Party has been primarily the party of American history that's always suppressed black people and is metaphorically doing it right now. So it's weird that they always leave out the fact that it was also black businesses that were burned down. And those black businesses and those families that ran those businesses didn't have the insurance to cover the cost of the damages. So what happened to their businesses? Well, they don't exist anymore. But police brutality that doesn't really exist in the scale that Democrats say it is, racism, systemic, that doesn't really take place on the scale that Democrats say it is. But sure, we got them. Oh, we got them. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You're a bunch of a-holes, scumbags, extremists that burn down cities, police precincts, black people's businesses, Asian people's businesses, Hispanic people's businesses, white people's, American businesses. And Walz let it happen here. Oh, he did. No, he did. Walz, now the Democrat vice president, addressed the riot saying Minneapolis and St. Paul are on fire. The fire is still smoldering in our streets. The ashes are symbolic of decades and generations of pain, of anguish unheard. Same people that went after all the rioters and the psychos that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Now, what you see on your screen there, that's not January 6th. That's not a foreign country. No, that's America. But they don't ever want to talk about all that. It's weird, right? Oh, insurrection! Like, dude, Democrats took over entire cities. Multiple cities. Not like one or two. Sometimes literally took it over. Like Jop and Chaz that we cover in the book, where they took over entire city blocks and just ran businesses out of business. People were raped. People were killed. People were shot. People were stabbed. People overdosed. But January 6th, you guys, January 6th insurrection wasn't a good day. Not saying it was great, but in comparison, not even close. But it was worse. It was the darkest day. It was like Pearl Harbor. It was terrible. So just to let you know, that's his language there, you guys. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? I see you guys in live stream. Isn't that wild? That's why you come here for the news, because we spotlight stuff like this. The anguish unheard. This is an abject failure that cannot happen. Under your watch. I know I'm going to repeat myself, folks, and you've heard it before. Patriots, you've heard it before. If you suck at your job, you get elevated to the what? The highest levels of office in the Democrat Party. The dude's city burned down, and he was stoked about it. Generations of pain. It's for your anguish. Burn it fucking down. And now he's vice president nominee. Oh, goody, goody, goody. Oh, we're not done yet. So, this country's racist. He's okay with rioting and burning cities down in the sake of anguish and pain. He wants to train your kids. He's for DEI hire and all those things. We're not going to rehash it again. You know what it was. So, Nancy Pelosi even suggested that he has a moderate stance. So, I'm not going to read the entire article, but Nancy's out again. Nancy's broken loose. She's out of the cage. So everything we just had, right? Everything, and we're not even done with it yet. Everything we've listed so far of this guy, how far left he is. Again, the title was appropriate, and so was the thumbnail. Yikes. Democrat Party has gone so far left, it's unrecognizable. So Tim Walz once said that he was so pro-abortion that former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi suggested he moderate his position. I don't know what it is with this guy and kids, but damn. When Walz first ran for governor back in 2018, he joked about his extreme views on abortion. Why is that funny? Like, why? Like, I'm all into dark humor. I love dark. I just love comedy in general. But it's not necessarily hilarious when you're chopping up kids. I know some comedians will do it, and that's fine. You can joke about it. I believe in that stuff. Joke about it, have it comedy, all that stuff. A little weird, though, a politician doing it. My record is so pro-choice, Nancy asked me if I should tone it down. He said, I stand with Planned Parenthood. Mind you, if Nancy Pelosi's asking you to turn it down, you are probably really far left, bro. Walz was on the House of Representatives from 2007 to 2019 as a 0% pro-life score. That's remarkable. From the national right to life. After he voted for a bill in 2018, buckle up, that would protect babies who survive botched abortions, he apologized and said that he had accidentally voted for the measure. I'm just going to take a step back, okay? Because this isn't even pro-choice, you guys. This is actually just murder. So let's take a step back and reread that again, because I think it's morning and went a little too quick. He voted for a bill, after he voted for a bill in 2018, that would protect babies who survived botched abortions. I'm just going to let that simmer for a second. Because what's going to happen is Trump's going to call that out, and so does J.D. Vance. Liar! Liar! He never said that. We're going to let that one simmer. Exactly. Novel era 05. Said it perfectly. He's evil. Yes. Yo, I don't care who you are. That's F. That is F. We're going to let it simmer, man. That's psycho, dude. That's psycho. Now you know why I called him it. And that's why Kamala Harris got him, you guys. Not just because of that, because of everything. This is how insane that party's gotten. And that's why it's insane when I hear my buddies say, oh, we're going to vote for Kamala. Yes. Oh, we're not done. God, I don't even know if we're going to get to the second half of the show. We might have to do an afternoon show when I get back from work. I'm not kidding, because I have to cut the show at 7 because I have to go to work after. So we might have to do, we might be doing another show later today. Probably will. Okay, the next one with Walz here. If you guys are cool with that, we're probably going to do an afternoon show when I get back, probably around 3:30, 4 o'clock today. Walz signed an executive order protecting trans procedures on minors while holding hand on gender-confused 12-year-olds. So here we go. In March of 2023, Walz signed the order in response to numerous Republican states taking action to ban or curb gender procedures on minors. At the time, Walz said protecting and supporting access to gender-affirming health care is essential to being a welcoming and supportive state. You know, for longtime listeners, I'm holding it together, right, guys? We're doing pretty good of not losing our shit. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be helping children, but there's a route to do it. Giving them hormone enhancers and doing gender-affirming care, affirming something that isn't reality, is wrong in my opinion. And there's my opinion. It is wrong to affirm something. I'll give you an example. Because it used to be that when you are a biological male and you think you're a woman, that used to be an issue that you would go seek help with, right? Now, there's been changes in it, but I would correspond it to schizophrenia. If you had a buddy or a girlfriend, not, girls call their friends girlfriends. If you had just a friend, family member, I don't care who the hell it was, that's talking to a person or a group of people that doesn't exist, it's not there, they may think it is, they might even see them or hear it, whatever. Would you sit there and affirm that thinking? No, John, no, it's there. Yeah, John, what is he saying? Wipe out a bunch of people? No, John, it's good. The guy's there. I see him too. I hear him too, John. You don't have schizophrenia. You're fine. No need to seek help. No, don't get medication. That's all. Look, I'm saying go get help. I don't think you cutting off your genitals and boobies and stuff like that is the solution. Maybe I'm wrong. If you want to do that at 18 or whatever, start loading yourself up with whatever. It's your life. But not on a 12-year-old boy, okay, who claims they're a girl. Not for that. They can figure it out at 18. Life is short. Go on and do that. So that's what he's for. That's what he's for. And also, he also promulgated this whole thing where Joe Biden's fit to hold office, you guys. Yeah. This was not too long ago.
Is he fit for office? Do you think he's fit for office?
Yes, he's fit for office. The president has 3.5 years of delivering for us, going through what we've all been through. None of us are denying. Thursday night was a bad performance. It was a bad hit, if you will, on that. But it doesn't impact what I believe. He's delivering.
Is he fit for
Is he fit for office? Yes. The president? Yeah, he's fit for office. So not only is all those things we just described, but the dude's a chronic liar. He's a manipulator. And when I said I had a list of things here, your boy was literal. Your boy was literal. Now, we're not going through everything, but here's a list. And if you want, it's on RNC Research on Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and repost this. Oh, I already did. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, you would have this list. You can send it to your friends and family. This is who Walz is. This is who my buddies are going to vote for. Supports sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. Backs mass amnesty for millions of illegal aliens. That's lovely. Walz refused to call Kamala Harris' unprecedented border invasion a crisis. Provided ladders to aid illegal immigrants in scaling the border wall. Just bringing you the news. Signed legislation giving illegal aliens free taxpayer-funded health care and college, while we're $35 trillion in debt, sending $10 billion to the Iranians, for the leading sponsor of terror, $87 million per week to terrorists. By the way, I brought all that up to my buddy that we're giving. And just there was no emotion or like, holy shit, what'd you just say? I just don't like Trump. Look, I love my buddy. He's my friend. Come on, dude, wake up. If you're watching this, you know who you are. Wake up, dude. You're going to screw over everybody else is what it is. I don't like what Trump says. Fuck what Trump says. I want to see what somebody does. Kamala Harris says a lot of crazy shit and does a lot of crazy shit. And she lies about it. At least Trump goes, Rosie O'Donnell, she's freaking huge. She's huge. I'm sorry, she is not a looker. She's not a looker. It's true, though. You don't like it. Look, it's not a nice thing to say about somebody, but it's true. It's true. At least he got that much going on for him. It wasn't a good deal. But you're going to screw over everybody else because now we got to sit there and compete in the marketplace with illegal aliens that should have never been here in the first place. By the way, that happens with your health care, so your premiums are going to go up. That goes up with the cost of food because there's more demand for that food because there's more people here. Your cost goes up. Your rent's going to go up or your mortgage because they're competing in the marketplace as well. Not to mention they're being taxpayer funded to help outcompete you in that said marketplace. But you're going to sit there and go vote for Kamala Harris and this guy that wants to sit there and trans your kids. You're going to pay 30% more at the grocery store. You're going to pay minimum 20% across the board on everything because you don't like what Donald Trump says. Yeah, it's going to fire me up a little bit because it's a little bit of a crazy thinking in my opinion. I'm not saying the guy's perfect. That's not what I'm saying. But look around you. Like, things were not like this under Trump. Maybe there's a case to be made for COVID, which wasn't even his fault. You got China. If you want to blame anybody for that, blame China, which there's never been any penalty for. Walz signed legislation giving illegal aliens free taxpayer-funded health care and college. He also is giving them licenses and title vehicles. Hell, should we just keep going? Spends taxpayer dollars solely on supporting immigrant and refugee integration. He bailed out, directed police to surrender their precinct, stalled deploying the National Guard for days. This has to do with the burning of Minneapolis, at which we covered. He wanted to give voting rights to convicted felons. That has problems within itself because you're going to be biased towards certain laws and regulations and certain somebody that maybe want to get you out of office. Walz allowed criminals to walk free, including women who drowned her own baby. That's freaking horrible, but this is the guy that wants to kill babies after they survived a freaking abortion that we covered. He thinks voter IDs and voter integrity laws are solutions looking for a problem. So meaning that he doesn't want to allow this to happen, which makes sense. A lot of Democrats don't, which is why they're fighting Republicans for this stuff. Remember that the SAFE Act that's in place to basically force the executive branch to execute the laws that are already on the books to make sure people are showing proof of citizenship when they go out to vote, which isn't happening. Billions in new taxes, typical. That one's a shoe-in. This is all why Kamala picked this guy. She's an idiot, but not about everything. She picked this guy for a reason. Opposes fracking. God, who else opposes fracking? Kamala Harris. Who also is for defunding the police? Kamala Harris. And so is Walz. Who has a massive uptick in violent crime? California and the states. So is California when Kamala was there, and the states when she was vice president? Look at this. He opposes restricting sexually explicit content and pornographic content to elementary school kids. You know what? Let's just finish the list. Why not? We're here together as a community. We got a lot of people watching. We got a couple hundred people in here with us. Great to have you folks. If you're just joining us, we're here every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, doing the same thing we are here, calling out the psychos on the left-hand side of the aisle of the Democrat Party, at least those that are psycho. And we bring the receipts. And you're seeing it right now. Walz thinks it's insane to be upset about partnering with a satanic designer to promote transgender products for kids. Oh, it's so crazy. It's despicable, irreprehensible. How could you do that? How could you say that? He calls us fascists, just to let you guys know. I mean, that's just another one. That's typical, right? We're fascists, we're racist, we're evil, we're extremists, we're threats to democracy. After seeing this list, isn't it just funny? It's funny that they call us all those things. We're the extreme people. Sorry, bro. If you want to kill a baby that survived abortion, it's alive, it's crying, it's out. It's a little woo-hoo, like, not with us. This dude's gonna be vice president, which means when Kamala Harris, if she does get elected, the dude very well could be president the years after. This is where we're going as a country. Buckle up, folks. Donald Trump could lose. I'm not kidding. Don't believe any polls. I don't care if the dude's up by 18, 20 points, which is not the case, by the way. It's razor thin margins right now. It's like going back and forth. Get out and vote, man. This is the stuff they're going to push forward. If Democrats have all three branches of government, kiss it all goodbye. And it ain't coming back. What else we got here? You think I was joking, right? A lot of you are like, maybe he won't bring out a list. Like, he's just going over a lot of articles. No. No, I'm not. Sorry if you have your earbuds in. That was a little loud. He embellished his own National Guard service. I'm not going to get into that. If you want to source that one out, it is true. He has a lot of his own, I don't know if you even call them buddies. His other people that were in other people that were in the service with him coming out in interviews and stuff like that. So that's kind of the one article right now that's really going viral is the National Guard stuff and how he kind of left before the Iraq deployment and stuff like that. So if you want to source that one out, you can read that one on your own. But that's what's going viral right now. The reason why I don't like necessarily covering it, it's more of a, I guess an issue with me because I didn't serve. And so it's really hard for me to rag on our service men and women when I don't even have the balls to have served myself. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm not covering it, because I feel it's a little bit hypocritical on my end to call out somebody for their service and how they handled it when I didn't even go serve myself. So that's why I tend to stray away from those types of talking points, because Now, could I? Absolutely. And it would be fine, but it's just more of a personal preference if you get what I'm saying. He praised communist China. That one makes sense. I mean, and it makes sense why Kamala would want him, right? Because he praised China. And then he covered up Biden's cognitive decline. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy. So I'm going to save the portion of what we were going to talk about for an afternoon episode, potentially. If not, we'll definitely cover it tomorrow. But here's some more clips that I want to show you guys that I had on the back end, where Josh Shapiro, who was in the lineup to be Kamala Harris's vice president, is shouting like a deranged moron, saying that he ain't going to go back. It's a very weird finger pointing, yelling thing at her rally yesterday. Here we go.
And let me tell you something. I ain't going back. I am not going back. I'm not. And neither do you want to go back. We are not going back. And let me tell you something.
What? Go back to what? A secure border? Affordability? Prosperity? Opportunity? National security? World peace? Like, you don't want to go back to those things? Like my friend? You see how Democrats are like, oh, hell yeah, screw affordability. I love inflation. 9.1%. We broke records of illegal immigration. Yeah, it's so sick. It's awesome. Terrorists in the country. Hell yeah. Unemployment went up. Woo! Folks, Tim Walz rolls out with Kamala Harris and the place goes berserk. They don't even know who the hell that guy is. Nobody knew who the hell that guy was. Fuck yeah, Tim Walz. Oh, shit, yeah. Nobody knows who that guy is. They're just all shouting for him. Look, people could say, well, people were chanting JD and for JD Vance when he was announced at the Republican National Convention. Here's the difference. JD wrote a national bestseller. Entire movie based on the guy's life. So at least there's a little bit more of a claim of people having some sort of awareness of who the guy was. Tim Walz? No, just a guy that wants to kill babies and mutilate children and all that other crazy stuff. So here's Josh Shapiro again, rails against restricting sexually explicit and pornographic books from elementary schools, like Tim Walz. It is a cornerstone now of the Democrat Party to allow this stuff to happen to children. It is not. Again, the White House has come out and proposed all this same stuff. We've covered it.
It's not freedom to tell our children what books they're allowed to read. That's not freedom. It's not. It's not.
Wow. Wow. And by the way, let's get a little bit of the Kamala Harris clips here real quick. At the same speaking engagement. So Josh Shapiro came up first, and then Kamala Harris comes up on the podium after everybody's all riled up because they're stoked about giving kids porn and stuff in schools and not taking away their books and, you know, going after everything about children, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. So she comes out, and this is so cringe, man. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I left it at 19 seconds, okay? This is how she came on the stage. We're going to sit through this one together.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Dude, that was cringy, man. God. You know, look, Patriots, we watch Karine Jean-Pierre together like almost every week or whenever she does a press briefing, right? Who's more cringe to listen to voice-wise, her or Karine? There's one for you. There's one for the chat. I don't know. Yeah, there you go. See, I see Apache Roberts, my bleeping ears. Yep. Mine too. I said we're gonna sit through it together. And then you got LH saying Tampon Tim. That's what everybody's calling him. Tampon Tim, because he put tampons in boys, little boys' locker rooms. It's not a joke. It really did. He did do that. So here she is echoing what Josh Shapiro said. We're not going back. So again, that's kind of, I don't know if that's like the new thing of the Democrat Party. We're not going back to prosperity, to job security, opportunity. We're going back to freaking record inflation. You can't buy a house. You can't afford groceries and gas. We want to go back to that, though.
We're not going back.
It kind of sounded like my impression. We're not going back. I'm going to replay it. Did it not sound like that, Patriots? We're not going back. Bald Red Army, let me know. We're not going back. Oh, I'm playing it. Damn right I'm playing it again.
We're not going back.
That was it. My impressions are spot on for Kamala. We're not going back. Hold on. I'm going to try to mimic her as she does it.
We're not going back.
I love hanging out with you guys. And they're chanting it. Oh my God. Well, that's our country, guys. That's where we're heading. That's where we're heading. And so there's a great clip that was released by the Trump War Room because they're chanting, you know, we're not going back. Again, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And that's why this clip is kind of going viral right now.
Please welcome President Ronald Reagan, who has a few questions for you.
All of you will go to the polls, will stand there in the polling place and make a decision. I think when you make that decision, it might be well if you would ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go and buy things in the stores than it was 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the country than there was 4 years ago? Is America as respected throughout the world as it was? Do you feel that our security is as safe, that we're as strong as we were 4 years ago? If you don't think that this course that we've been on for the last 4 years is what you would like to see us follow for the next 4, then I could suggest another choice that you have.
President Trump. He'll make America great again.
But don't worry, Democrats don't want to go back to that, folks. Democrats want to drive this country into the ground. We could easily go on for another hour here. But before we depart, folks, I want to give a shout out to a new sponsor. If you're one of those people who use the phrase toxic masculinity because you're intimidated by real men who embrace their primal instincts, there's a reason why I picked this one. You should probably turn this off right now, literally. As a man, you are the rock people depend on, a shoulder to cry on, a fighter, a lover, a protector to many. While the Democrats try to sit there and trans your kids, we at Rumble created what's called Be Naked, a brand that celebrates manhood and champions masculinity, men with real balls that share our enthusiasm for clean, non-woke, and agenda-free products dedicated to helping you dominate every challenge life throws at you. Because we all know that life will always test us, push us, and challenge us. So when life kicks you and you need to get kicked back harder, you need to tap into that primal strength. This is why you need our supplement, Naked Organs is what they're calling it. Our signature product will help you unleash your inner beast. Naked Organs come from the purest and strongest animals on earth, the fearless bison, baby. It's nature's multivitamin powerhouse, delivering endless energy, regulating hormone health, boosting testosterone, not estrogen, and enhancing muscle recovery with natural creatine, folks. We got to sit there and make our men great again, masculinity great again. Go to Be Naked right now. Careful typing that in. And pick some Naked Organs to embrace your manhood. That's benaked.com/studio. And use code studio to save 50% off your first subscription order. Celebrate becoming a man, folks. Get healthy. Live naked, baby. And putting your hard-earned dollars towards supporting freedom, loving creators like on Rumble, not the woke mob that's out there, folks. And I thought it was a timely one. I thought it was a good transition, right? Because they're trying to transition men into women and women into men. But we need to sit there and bring men back again is what we need to do. The beard of justice with the supplements. The freaking arms, baby. Well, folks, with that being said, thank you so much for always supporting us. Jason, thank you for becoming part of the Bald Brad Army. I think again here on YouTube, and also that $5 donation earlier. If you guys want to donate, feel free to throw that in there. Please don't feel like you have to. We have memberships over at Rumble. We got memberships over on YouTube. We do have a website that you can donate. A reoccurring donation has been uploaded on our website now, so you can check that out. We get 98% of the proceeds on our website. So a lot of new people join us today over at Rumble. I get a notification on my watch as well as my phone. So thank you for those that joined us. Again, we are here every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. We'll probably be back here later today for another episode. If I'm not here later today, then we'll just have that transition in tomorrow. Take care, Patriots. Love one another. Take care of your family. Call your mom and father. Tell them you love them. With that being said, Patriots, I'll see you later here on The Bull Brat Show.